So, during the next 6 months, I traveled to the UK 3 more times, spending 5 weeks in and around this medical center. I spent time in the waiting room, randomly speaking with parents who returned with their children for follow-up. Their comments just blew me away. I even resorted to confronting people on their way into and leaving the clinic, quizzing them on what was really happening, and on a few occasions, inviting myself to their homes to observe and learn more. The things I saw and heard continued to confirm what I was being told. So what did these people do at this medical center that was changing lives? Actually, it was not what was being done in the medical center that was helping people, but rather things the people did at home. Let me explain. During an initial visit to the clinic, a patient was put through a number of tests that measured things like eye tracking and their balance system, as well as seeing a doctor and a therapist. After all these tests, the patient was then sent home with equipment and a series of physical exercises to perform twice every day. They were told the exercises would rewire parts of the brain responsible for cognitive and physical function, things like reading, speech, writing, memory, the ability to focus and pay attention, and even balance and coordination. Talk about skeptical. I was having a very difficult time wrapping my arms around that claim that physical movements help with learning and the ability to pay attention. So, I continued speaking with random clients and reading everything I could get my hands on that was related in any way to what I observed. The more I looked and investigated, the more blown away I became. Person after person, week after week, these mostly children, but some adults as well, were seeing real quality of life improvements. The comments from parents and teachers were astounding. However, it all still sounded too good to be true. Like I said earlier, I was skeptical and I remained so. However, I kept seeing unbelievable results over and over. It was clear to me that if this was for real, a lot of people could be helped in a really big way. All this was great. However, the cost was pretty hefty. They charged the equivalent of $4,000 for each person. Now, people were very willing to pay this and very happy that they did with the results they got. What they got for that amount of money included a meeting with the doctor, the initial testing, the equipment and exercises that they took home, and follow-up and support for 12 months. I became more and more convinced this was real, that dyslexia, attention disorders, and other learning disabilities were being eradicated in a lot of people, and many others were making great strides and improving tremendously. I then spent the next 2 years helping my classmate put together his vision of opening up centers around the world just like the one I described. One day, I participated in a planning session with my classmate and a number of his managers and folks from other countries who were about to open up centers. I asked the question of, what if someone or some company were to simply copy the exercises and start directly competing? My classmate's response was, we will tell them that the exercises are prescribed for each individual based on the test results, saying there was sophisticated software where all this data was entered, allowing personalized exercises to be spit out. Well, let me tell you, my skepticism radar really went off, and for good reason, as this was simply not true. Needless to say, I was quite disturbed by his behavior because I knew it wasn't true, even though I personally witnessed many people whose lives were changed for the better. You need to understand something about me. Throughout my life, I've always been known as a very ethical and honest business person. And even though I spent 2 years working on this project with my Harvard classmate, there was no way I wanted to have any association with something that I knew contained an outright lie. So, after many words, I was no longer involved with what turned out to become a substantial international organization. Now, I'll get back to this story in just a minute.